Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It all depends on your location. So today we are going to touch on so many issues, various issues that affect us in preparation to this upcoming election. But meanwhile, we have a video for you right now.
Arise Director of News and Political Editor Somna Sambo joins us now to appraise the state of the presidential race and the entire political barometer with less than 3 weeks to the presidential election. Good morning, Somna. Good to have you join us today.
Good morning, Steve, and good morning, Nee.
Good morning. Somna, let's start this way. I mean, it's exactly 3 weeks to the presidential election. The presidential election and the elections for the National Assembly. Where are we? For the first time in a long while, it looks like not just the popularity of the candidates or even their parties will determine the outcome of the election. It is beginning to look to a lot of Nigerians that other factors, economic factors, political factors, social factors, fuel, naira redesign, economy, security will be part of the things that will determine what happens in 3 weeks' time. Will they be right when they conclude like that, or you think that the situation is all about the most popular candidate or the most popular party will win? Where are we in your own estimation?
Thank you, Steve, and very good morning to our viewers once again. Let me start by saying that no one would have dreamt in the last decade that Nigeria would get so close to the sort of politics that we are playing at the moment. This has always been the dream of our fathers, founding fathers of this country, that, our polity should get to a time where the people will be the ultimate deciders of whoever will assume the nation's #1 seat. And so we've seen a situation whereby people who used to wield a lot of power are becoming powerless at the moment. And no one would have ever thought, for example, that the sitting president in the governing party would actually want to, present a situation that's acceptable to all Nigerians by not, siding directly with his political party like we used to have in the past. And no one would have ever fathomed that a governing party would be struggling to measure up with opposition political parties. And no one would have also fathomed that the Nigeria of today, we could actually go towards a runoff. And no one would have also fathomed that with the way we've always been playing our money politics, that someone will have so much money and still feel very powerless at the same time. So it's a measure of some sort of democratic growth, and Nigerians must rally around President Muhammadu Buhari at the risk of being sound as being supportive of him, irrespective of the mistakes that he may have made. The intention of the president to present a level playing field for everybody, irrespective of his party's candidate, is one that we should see as being in consonance with the thinking of the founding fathers of this country, that irrespective of who is in power, those who are aspiring to govern the nation must always see themselves as playing without, quote, the federal might support. And of course, the president seems to have brought in some policies that is being seen by some of his party members and leaders as a sort of politics that is being supported by the cabals. Yes, the president may have made one mistake or the other, and like we would have heard the governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, saying that, look, yes, in as much as we want the president to provide a level playing field, he shouldn't forget that he's a member of the governing All Progressives Congress, and he ought to support his party and its candidate to ensure that they retain power. But nonetheless, we're seeing President Buhari being someone who gives hope to a lot of Nigerians at this time. And we, as a nation, must ensure that this process eventually births with a candidate that's voted for by the people and not elected by the elites, not being pushed by money politics and, old sort of legacy politics that we've been playing. Now, I have to establish this background before we get into the politics that we are seeing that's ongoing both at the governing party and, of course, the the main opposition parties. Because we would have seen that the main opposition candidate seems to be trying to muzzle out the other two top contenders, that's that of the Labour Party and the NMPP, by quote saying that he's trying to talk with some of them, with someone to step down. And I will say it clearly here that that will not help our politics. The two other opposition candidates, apart from Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, must never step down in this election because we want Nigerians to be the ultimate deciders. The two political parties that have been dominating our polity in the last decade must understand that politics is moving. There's a sort of tectonic power shift from that of, quote, the elites, the cabals, the feudal lords who just decide that they will be the one to give to the Nigerian people whoever they decide, rather than the Nigerian people exercising their powers and all of that. So right from the signing of the Electoral Act, which of course a lot of Nigerians had to put pressure on the governing APC and its president to ensure that that document was appended to, we'll see that even the Independent National Electoral Commission knows that the 2023 election cannot, will not, and should not be tampered with by the governing party, its president, or the elites, because we're at the threshold where the nation, as it stands right now, is only waiting for the birth of a new Nigeria through the election. And if anything happens to that process, through tampering of the electoral votes of the people, then something will actually go wrong. And I hope that those who hold the nation on our behalf, in terms of the security operatives, will also understand the times that we're in, that this is not a time to resort to self-help on behalf of the people. They must ensure that they are not tampered with or being, in one way or the other, influenced by either the governing party or so. They should read the president's body language. He's willing to birth a process where people will not decide to tamper with the polity because they are rich enough to be able to influence the system and all of that. But sometimes the dream of our founding fathers all the time. Yes, this has always been. And so we must encourage the process as Nigerians to ensure that we do not allow people to circumvent the process by forcing some people to want to step down or by doing certain actions because we have been promised certain things by certain people. So these are the best of times for Nigerian politics. Opposition political parties, the lower political parties are challenging the dominant political parties. And of course, this provides a level playing field for everyone. And of course, that's because the electoral process is deemed to be credible, and that's why we must ensure that INEC today, coincidentally, is the day where they are going on the mock exercise, where they will test the beavers and so on. Yes. They should understand that this election holds a lot of potential for the nation.
All right, so now, just a quick one here before you come in. I get the point of your argument about allowing the President, Muhammadu Buhari, to create, a level playing field and everything. But that the Kaduna State Governor, El-Rufai, has been speaking,
I don't know what...
Don't seem to have the capacity to deliver him. That's why he's reclining to that ethnic proclivity, but nonetheless, it will cost him more if he begins to recline to his Southwest agenda. He should have learned from the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo. He tried that. I mean, candidate Tinubu has even tried better than Awolowo used to do. When Awolowo used to go on campaign, he didn't care to visit traditional rulers in the north in those years. He just felt that his own person, the sort of politics he plays, had the capacity to deliver him, and he didn't need to kowtow to the feudal north. But we've seen Tinubu kowtowing to the feudal north, being accepted by traditional rulers, going to several of these traditional rulers whenever he is on a campaign stop, and they seem to have been providing some support here and there. But the ultimate decider of this election will be the Nigerian voter. So he should understand that ethnic politics won't help him. Just like we've been telling Atiku Abubakar, the resort to religion, the resort to the issue of northern hegemony will not help Atiku Abubakar. What he needs to do is to galvanize a lot of Nigerians, because you need 4 out of the 6 geopolitical zones for you to emerge winner in this election. And if you can't be able to get 4 out of these geopolitical zones, I can tell you there's no how we won't go into a runoff. So we must continue to thank the people of the likes of Peter Obi and Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso for giving a push, continuous push to the 2 major candidates. And if we're able to go for a runoff, I can tell you that would be the best thing that would have happened to our democracy in the last 2 decades.
Indeed, son, as you said earlier, these are indeed interesting times. But how significant is the current narrative of uncertainty in Nigeria's political space? And what's the impact for the future, you think, especially coming from those main candidates, as you've mentioned, and what they're going through right now?
The implication here is that Nigerian politics is changing. This is the last contest that may be for the likes of Atiku Abubakar and maybe Bola Tinubu, but they should understand that a new Nigeria is birthing. We have the mid-range candidates like Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso and of course Peter Obi, trying to give more understanding to the Nigerian electorate. And that's what we ought to have been doing since. If you watch the campaigns that these 2 gentlemen have been embarking on, they are educating a lot of Nigerians, not just campaigning to them. While the 2 older candidates of the 2 dominant parties are only campaigning like, in the last decade or 2 decades ago to Nigerians. The thing we have here is that the nation that we had 2 decades ago or last decade ago is not the same nation that we have at the moment. The likes of Malam Nasir El-Rufai should understand that a new Nigeria is birthing. And those sort of politics that we think that some governors can just sit down and wield some powers and give Nigerians a candidate, a president, we will no longer accept that kind of politics as citizens. That's what Nigerians are telling them. Don't forget, the Nigerian Governors Forum used to wield a lot of power. They determined who eventually became president in 2007. And that's why you could see the likes of Bukola Saraki then and James Ibori wielding a lot of influence on Umar Musa Yar'Adua. A lot of policy decisions that president took were because of the influence of these people. The same thing happened with Goodluck Jonathan in 2010 when he emerged after the death of Umar Musa Yar'Adua, having been a former deputy governor, of course, becoming a short-term governor. He was under huge influence by these governors. And then in 2015, we saw something happening. Tinubu, who wasn't then a sitting governor, joined hands with some forces and supported President Muhammadu Buhari to emerge. Some of the governors wouldn't have wanted a Buhari to emerge because he wasn't playing the style of politics that they wanted. But somehow we saw that tectonic shift. And in 2019, President Muhammadu Buhari, of course, as an incumbent, had that support. But this time around, the governors are seeing their overall influence waning. Waning in the sense that though they are in the governing party, for example, they don't have the capacity to be able to direct the political discourse like they used to do in the past. So many of them are angry. That's why someone like Malam Nasir El-Rufai is on a media tour trying to let people know that, look, the way they want the politics to go is not going. Who told him that, as it stands right now, that the Nigerian should not be the ultimate decider? He should understand that with the developments we've had at the moment in the electoral cycle, the Nigerian voter will be the ultimate decider. So if the times are changing and our governors are not understanding that the times are changing, then it will be a sad development. For some of the dominant political parties over the year, this is for a time for them to have a rethink. And I don't know why the likes of, for example, the NNPP and the Labour Party are not thinking of wooing other smaller political parties. I mean, the discourse of an alliance should have been emerging from either the Labour Party or the NNPP at this point. Because as it stands right now, the dominant parties have seen very clear that if INEC keeps to its if INEC keeps to all that it has been saying, they may not likely win. So the discourse here is that, look, they are resorting to self-help. Self-help in the sense that the APC, saying that a lot of Nigerians may have been dissatisfied with some of its policies, is trying to see whether they can borrow the institutions of state and support their candidate to be able to emerge. And it's proven difficult.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard that. So that's where we wrap it up for now. And the lesson is that things are not the way they used to. They used to be. So let them do whatever thing that they think he wants to do, to make
because of a candidate, because of a president who thinks he owes his loyalty to the nation rather than the party or the candidate. We have also seen the major opposition candidate, Atiku Abubakar, saying that it's pretty difficult for him to be able to emerge as winner, selling the idea that he's already embarking on a discourse. So what does this tell us as Nigerian voters, as citizens? What it tells us is that the politics we are playing at this point in time is different from what